Okay, can you hear me? Good morning. So my name is Erickson. I'm from State Street Bank. We're not a household name, so I'll just quickly take you through a little bit what we do, and then talk about how we view, I guess, business process outsourcing, how we view building our business, and how we structure our business now globally. And then finally, a little bit about how we interact with some of the more frontier markets in which we operate. And that's very much about our customers wanting access to those frontier markets. And State Street is what's called a trust bank. What we do is we hold assets on behalf of investors. So normally cross-border investors, these are the range of services that we provide to our clients. It runs the full gamut from investment management through to accounting, through to the basic custody of the assets for our clients. So if a client, a pension fund, wants to buy assets in another country, they use someone like us to facilitate both the account opening, the bank opening account process, as well as the holding of those assets on behalf of the underlying investor, separate from the person who's managing the money. So effectively, we're in the middle of the chain, providing a nominee type structure that protects the underlying assets from disappearing and the investor losing their investment. Obviously, the further away you get from where you are located, the more you need help in ensuring that those investments are well looked after, and that's basically our business model. When we look at our clients, the reason I'm doing this is not because I'm expecting you to buy State Street products, but it's important that when we look at outsourcing and when we look at how we structure ourselves across the globe, we very much feel that we're in partnership with our clients. And as a result, when we look at BPO providers and when we look at building infrastructure in various countries, we look very strongly at seeing whether the people we're partnering with can add or subtract to these values. So performance is not about market performance and good investment returns. Performance is about being better than someone else from this perspective. So it's how can you help to be better than someone else. Risk mitigation, so I think that speaks for itself. So the ability to mitigate risks, now whether they be real operational risk or country risk. Insight, so when we work with people, we expect them to know their market and be able to help us. If we know more than the person we're working with, then it lessens the advantage from us in working with that particular group or location. So we're looking for someone with some insight into what we're trying to work with them. And then finally, aligned interests. And this is really important, and this is important from both the BPO perspective and from our client's perspective, because we much prefer to work with someone who has an aligned interest in us being successful than a simple vendor-employment type relationship. So we don't want to get into a situation where we're paying someone and then we're just sitting down and we're tracking error logs and those type of things. We're much more looking for a company that's their success is tied to our success, and so therefore they're going to work to make sure that they basically give that extra something that we need, that we believe we provide our clients in terms of making it work. And I think this is really important because for a bank like State Street, so we're about 28,000 people, we have $24 trillion US under custody, so we're the second biggest custodian in the world. When we talk to our clients about the fact that we're outsourcing or we're moving to a new location, they have fear in their eyes. They worry about us, where we've got so many of their assets, moving those assets to other locations or moving the servicing and processing to other locations. And it's really our brand that stands in front of that. So when we decide to build an operations centre in China, for our clients, it doesn't really matter that it's China or we may be using a partner. It's still us at the end of the day that stands in front of it. And for us, that process of aligned interest, making sure that our clients and our investors understand where we're investing and why we're investing and that we're able to talk about it is a key part of what we do. Challenges that our clients face. So our clients are looking at going into new markets, into new products. They're looking for a way to get ahead of the competition. Their business is getting more complex as the world is getting more complex. Data is becoming a huge problem, and the problem is there's too much of it, and so our clients find it very hard to understand what the data is actually telling them, and now a lot of the business that we're in is about people looking at the data in different ways and in actually more simple ways so that they can actually understand the vast amounts of data that have been put in place. Risk management and then regulation and compliance. So this is us in Asia Pac at the moment. The reason I include this slide is that if you looked at this slide 15 years ago, it was very different. 15 years ago, all of our operations were in the countries in which we operated. So each country operated as a little mini version of our company. So we have big operations in Australia, in Japan, and those type of locations. We did all the processing there. We were based in capital cities. Today, that is not true. The biggest location we have in the region is actually in Hangzhou, in China. It's got 1,400 people there from a BPO perspective. We also have a development centre in Hangzhou. But we also now, State Street, I'll get to it in a second, have basically BPO operations throughout the world where we're operating a follow-the-sun model. We have operations in Poland, India, Hangzhou, and in the centre of the United States in Kansas City, providing the vast majority of the processing oomph that we require. This is our strategy. I'll put this in here to talk you through a little bit about the way we view the region and we view how we need to grow. So our goal is to double our revenue at the end there. That's the 2x. And the rest of it is talking about how we're meant to get there. Couple of key things. The first one is that it's the footprint in the region. So you can see in the middle there's a footprint around what we want to achieve. And you can see we've got a couple of core countries. Then we're building out from those core countries. We see the way that we interact with the region in three main ways. So number one, when we build a processing centre, whether it be a captive or as a partner with someone else, we're supplying our services to our clients. So the Hangzhou operation that we have is not supplying back office information to our company. It's our frontline products that are being produced from those locations. Number one, we invest in different places to build operations. Hangzhou is the biggest. We opened an office in Fukuoka in Japan last year to do low-cost onshore processing within Japan. We are this month putting 200 people in the Philippines, and we're continuing to look in the region for growing business processing for our own product. Number two is when clients come and sell things to us. So we're a consumer of BPO products as well. So our payroll is 100% outsourced to various providers who are located both in India and the Philippines. Our human resources function and the call centre that the previous speaker was talking about is done from the Philippines for our company. And we're continually looking at those types of processing. IT is a big one for us, and what's interesting, if you look at a company like State Street 5 years ago, almost all of our outsourced IT work would have been done in India, but now we have China, we have Thailand as a development centre, we have places in Poland that are doing IT development for us now, and really we're fairly agnostic as to where that development gets done, provided that it gets done to the quality that we're looking for. Our clients have challenges up on the top left. We need to bring those clients in and we look at them in terms of the sector that those clients are in. So there's asset managers and there's insurance companies, there's government agencies. And then what we try and do is align our products to them, and then we look to deliver those clients the services that we put in. State Street is an annuity business. So what that means is that most of our clients are long-term clients. Our sales cycle is somewhere in the range of 24 months, so before we get a new client, it takes us 24 months of working with that client because there's a lot of trust that needs to be built up. Most of our clients that State Street work with are with us for over 20, 25 years when they come to us. But the vast majority of our business, we probably make $5-6 billion a year in revenue. The vast majority of our business is on 90-day cancellation notices. So if our clients don't like us, our business could disappear within 3 months. So we're very focused on making sure that there's no hiccups, no major reputational issues that can arise. And we take that into consideration when we're investing in different countries and when we're going through the BPO process. To give you an idea of our global operating model, at the very top, the green is done in country. So that's client service. So that's local language, local support. We've got offices in many locations throughout the region that do that type of processing. The middle layer, which is the yellow, is basically what I would call subject matter expertise for our business. So compliance, tax, legal advice, those type of things. That tends to be based on a regional and global level. So it's very common nowadays to have someone based in Europe who also looks after a portion of this Asian business, or vice versa. So these roles are very much, they're knowledge-based, but they're not really location-based. And in some companies now, these individuals don't even work in offices. They base themselves as work-from-home employees that can operate from where they are, and then they're connecting to our office in various ways. At the very bottom is the Global Centre of Excellence. And basically what this is our business has been decoupled from the location in which we operate. So now in Hangzhou, we do both Asian clients, but we also do UK clients. We also do clients based out of the US who are investing into this particular region, where we've separated our processing from where our clients are actually located, and that's facilitated greater use of BPO organisations and captive-based processing for our business. State Street now, the only capital city in which we do any type of operations is Boston, which is our home city in the US. Everywhere else in the world we have moved out of capital cities. So if you look at Dublin, our biggest office is in Kilkenny. It's not in, if you look at Ireland, it's in Kilkenny, it's not in Dublin. In Japan, as I mentioned, it's Fukuoka. In America, it's Kansas City and Toronto are actually bigger than Boston in terms of the processing sites that we use. And for us, this is it's been a really big thing to do, and it's been very, very challenging because of the reason I was speaking about before, which is that our clients get so concerned with any type of problems that we have that can impact their reputation. So we've been growing it out steadily, but what I can tell you is there's a great deal of supply. I was in the United States on the West Coast a few weeks ago, and I was speaking to a client who was based in San Francisco, and they have 800 people in San Francisco and 3 people based in London. And they were talking about coming to the region and how they're going to expand. They've spent no time looking at moving outside of the US, but it's a big topic of conversation now. Any company that you see that is my size or greater, and a number of the companies that are on the wall before, say Citibank, HSBC, JP Morgan, we have dedicated groups of people now that only look at building out BPO operations and moving people around in different ways. We're in 101 markets, I think, at the moment in which we operate. And we supply services to our clients there. And so I guess I was talking before about the 3 aspects. So number 1 is us building out our own businesses. Number 2 is people selling us services from locations, so HR, payroll, those type of things. The third one is frontier markets. Frontier markets are pretty important because our clients want access to frontier markets. They want to be able to invest there. So for instance, I was in Mongolia late last year, doing some research on behalf of the bank because our clients are asking how they can gain entry to the Mongolian market. And one of the things we do a lot with frontier markets is work with the frontier market participants, in particular the local banks, to have those people come to our organisation. So we do a lot of internships and training where we take people from the frontier markets into our organisation and put them in one of our locations around the world and teach them what our business is. Because it comes back to the idea, even though it's not free to do those things, it costs us money. It's important for us because when our clients invest in the local market, we'd like to know the participants around the local market. We'd like to get a chance to say that we've been involved in helping train those people to get up to speed with the local market conditions and those type of things. And then what happens is our clients then decide to buy or invest in that particular market, generally through private equity when they first start, but later on as the markets develop, they go in through those markets. And they expect us to be there to be able to manage that particular product or investment process that they're going through. So there's a lot of work that we do with our frontier markets to try and get access for our clients into those markets and establish local connections and local expertise. IT and operations transformation. So any bank like mine operates on economies of scale. And as a result, we invest continually in our business to reduce the amount of wastage that occurs and improve our efficiency. So basically, you can see the challenges on the left, they're pretty easy. What are we doing about it? So number one, we're doing centres of excellence. So we're moving to a global operating model. Number two, we're moving to a private cloud. So State Street owns and operates data centres all over the world. Some of the cables that you were seeing before, we own a large number of them connecting our operations. We've combined all of those data centres together and created our own cloud environment, which reduces our cost of computing power. We've got workflow tools, standardised global processes, but most importantly, I think this is where I'd like to emphasise this, is the ability to create global processing with local servicing. And it's a really hard thing to do because when you do a BPO, and whether it's a captive or whether it's someone else, the hardest thing you can do is have the BPO invested in your success. So how do you combine those two things together? Now, there's some contractual ways you can do that, so you can have sort of, if you beat more service quality, we will pay you a little bit more money. That can work, but it's hard because they're always, BPOs in particular, where they're bringing on new business, they're always wanting to have the new business come in the door, and there's a constant brain drain of people maybe from your account to the new client's account to bring those new people into the organisation. So one of the things that we look very closely at when we're talking around how we leverage that global supply chain is from the BPO's perspective, how can we connect them with our business? So we do that in a number of ways. So one is very simply we do things like this internally, where we bring our people and their people together and we talk about our business. Number two, a lot of the BPO companies themselves are now beginning to recognise this and are beginning to do things differently. So if you look at a company like HCL, I was saying to someone before, HCL will now put our logo as well as their own logo on their employees' business card, so they feel that they're somewhat connected to our business. And the third thing that we do is move people out of the BPOs into our broader business. So at the moment, I put it up before, we've got 1,400 people in Hangzhou. We have about 100 people from Hangzhou that are in our other Asia-Pac offices that we've taken out of that location and put into other locations. And we do that globally around the world. So there are people from Poland in Hangzhou, there are people in India in our Boston offices. And the reason we do that is partly training, but it's also partly to help them feel connected to what we're doing on an ongoing basis and closer to our clients. Running out of time, so just very quickly on this one is how is it creating value? It's making us more efficient and keeping us in business. So there are 4 large companies like mine that do what we do. When I started in this business 23 years ago, there was about 20. of those companies. And the 16 who aren't here are people that didn't take the lessons of our business, which is economies of scale, and are continuing to invest in their business. And I guess what that means in terms of the way we approach outsourcing and BPO operations is it's essential for our success. If you look at us and all of our competitors, we spend a lot of time doing this because we know that if we don't, we're not going to be there in 5 to 6 years. Okay, just talk a little bit about Hangzhou because that's the one that we've got the most experience on. So we wanted to develop Hangzhou as a centre of excellence for accounting. Why was it chosen? So firstly, it's got a lot of universities and a large talent pool. So Hangzhou is a big city, but it's got a number of universities. We were able to develop relationships with those universities. Some of our executives teach at those universities, and we're able to have a good process for bringing the interns in. There's clearly some cost advantages, although you'd be surprised, those cost advantages disappear pretty quickly. In a lot of markets, we've seen the cost rise very, very quickly in terms of being able to support it. Low turnover, so there wasn't a lot of direct competition for the staff that we'd be employing in Hangzhou. Most foreign companies tend to be in Shanghai, Shenzhen or Beijing. Ability to leverage our infrastructure that we had through the top technology centre that we already had there. And then finally, it provides a balance in our following the sun model. When we were exclusively using BPOs based out of India, one of the big challenges is serving the APAC region. The Indian time zone is 2 to 9 a.m. in the morning, so 2 a.m. 1 a.m. in the morning to about 9 a.m. in the morning. And while that works, and we still use it for some processes, for accounting and some of those types of things, you really want people who are in your same daytime because they might have to call on other people to help them during those downtimes. This is an idea of how we look at our business. So this percentage ratio is how many of our clients are serviced from Hangzhou, and this is where it's developed from. So if you look at it in terms of, and the staff allocated to that. So if you look at it when we first started off, we did 32 from Hong Kong. So we're looking very closely at, similar language, can speak to each other, toe in the water. The next year we got up to 116. We did a little bit from every market. And that's important because within our company we need all of the managers to buy into the process that we're going through when we go through an outsourcing process. And then from there, what we've really done is continue to expand it up so that now we've got, in this chart here for this particular function, it's pretty well averaged across the different markets in terms of how we allocate our staff within the BPO to our business. And the reason that this is an interesting statistic for someone like me who runs our business is because it allows me to plan for the future growth and what we're going to do next. Now, what we are going to do next, and this maybe relates to the conversations you'll be having later on today, these BPO operations in general reach a point where you get diminishing returns. So beyond a certain point, they get too big to give you the value that they actually gave. We think that number is between 1,500 and 2,000 people. So we're at about that point in Hangzhou at the moment, which is why we're starting up in the Philippines. And we'll grow that to a certain point, and then we'll look at what we do next. Now, that doesn't mean one operation per country. At the moment, we wanted to separate outside of the PRC and put some operations elsewhere. But you'll be seeing companies like us, I suspect, in 10, 15 years, having multiple 2,000-person locations in many different parts of the region as we begin to bring out our services, quite independent of the services we buy from people that are providing outsourcing services to us. I think I'm out of time. Thank you very much.